I've been testing tons of money makers again to see if I can find one that no one else knows, or at least very few people. And I may have just found the best way ever to make money using the GE, a money maker that is 29 million GP per hour, kinda, and an item that I didn't even knew existed, as well as a brand new forestry money maker that very few players know about. But first, as always, there's a bond hidden within the video, and the first person to find it and timestamp it with their username gets it. So everyone knows that forestry has been a great moneymaker since its release, but did you know that it also created the most profitable way to train cooking? One of the new items released was the Forester's Ration, which is created by using leaves on a piece of cooked meat. Even though that this item is completely useless until part 2 of forestry comes out in 2 months time, players are still buying it now whilst the demand is low and hoping to flip them when the two-handed axes come out, when the demand in theory should be a lot higher. They currently pay anywhere between 300 and 500 GP each one, although this price is very volatile right now. So I wanted to see how much you could make from this. Currently the best money maker in cooking is 500,000 GP per hour, if one ticking karambans, and 300,000 GP per hour if cooking sharks. You get 3 Forester's Rations no matter what leaf you use, so I picked the cheapest one, which is currently willows. 500 willow leaves with 300 GP each, and the cooked meat was 230 GP. Again, that changes quite frequently. The method is really simple. All you do is use the leaves on the meat, being careful not to eat the meat. It's not that type of moneymaker. The method is AFK and you get some fairly decent cooking XP of about 83,000 per hour. It requires 35 wool cutting and 35 cooking to do it, and in 18 minutes and 52 seconds I made 1500 rations. The price these sold for was 594,000 GP and the total cost was 265,000 GP. That works out at 1.04 million GP per hour, over double the best current cooking moneymaker. For the next moneymaker, did you know that either of these two items even existed? Well, apparently they can both be used instead of Mortmire Fungus to fill your Druid pouch. The Mortmire stem gives you 2 charges on your Druid pouch and the pair gives you 3. So me being me, I decided to spend a ridiculous amount of time finding the best spot to get these, and I found one which is also fortunately very close to a bank. In this spot here there are 2 small bushes and 3 rotting branches. Nothing ever spawns where you stand, but even still you get 4 chances to get one of those items by casting Bloom on this spot. I'm not even sure why they're actually worth so much, and I can only presume it's collected by someone, but I couldn't find anyone even on the All Bulks Discord. I brought some Canopus teleports with me to make it a little bit quicker running to the bank, and after 8.5 minutes I managed to get 45 pairs and 73 branches. That works out at a very respectable 1.1 million GP per hour after the cost of the runes and the prayer potions to top up when you need to. That method is decent, but when it comes to making a lot of money, there's a method that I've wanted to test for ages, but I never seem to have the spare GE slot. Uncommon items seem to always follow a trend on old school RuneScape that looks a little bit like this. So few people buy them and so few people make them that occasionally the seller runs out. Now I presume this is because they sit on an alt account somewhere as a slow money maker, and every so often they'll check the account, and if it's run out they'll just go and make some more. In the meantime the prices soar because most players would rather pay 10, 20, 50 or even 100,000 GP for someone to get a quest item for us rather than have to get it ourselves. We said no to being an Iron on Tutorial Island and we meant it. So can we make a bunch of money from this? It was time to find out. The first item I wanted to test was Spiked Boots, an item that is completely useless apart from being used in 2 quests. But it does have a good price, so even if it doesn't work, we'll still be making good money. To create them, you just need to take an iron bar and a pair of climbing boots to Dunstan in Birth Up. The worst part about this method is that you've got to go through a chat dialogue for him to make each pair, and whilst you get quicker the more you do it, it does take quite a while to do for each inventory. So 100 spiked boots took me 12 minutes and 36 seconds to make at a cost of 92,400 GP. Now I could have sold them for 3,500 GP each, which would have been a nice profit, but as you can see from the actively traded price, if my hunch was right, they could sell for a lot more. So I tested them out at 5,000 GP. I didn't want to make it too expensive I just wanted to know if this would actually work, and they all sold within 1 hour. And in so boosting the profit to 1.9 million GP per hour, but far more importantly, if this worked, then all of the items that occasionally rise to 10 times their normal price might just work too. I decided to test out 2 items, the first one being seasoned sardines, which is another quest item used in Gertrude's cat. You just need Dougal leaves and a raw sardine and simply put one on the other to make the seasoned sardine. This one also has an annoying chat prompt when you create them, but you can just hold space down at least for this one, which does bypass most of it. 200 sardines took me 5 minutes and the ingredients for each one cost 264 GP. The 683 GP would have been a nice profit, but I wanted to try and sell them for 10,000 GP each. I felt like I should have been wearing a balaclava at this point as I put that offer in, but I needed to test it out. Instead of taking a long, hard look in the mirror, I decided to double down and test another item. The Poison Chalice is a very random item within old school RuneScape that has various effects. Overall though, it's a pretty useless item, and I'm not really sure why anyone other than collectors would buy this item. There must be a reason though, because there's no way collectors are going to be paying the kind of prices that this sometimes goes to. Poison Chalices are completely free, and I got to use some of my inboxes from a previous video that bank your items for you, making this method even faster. 79 of these took 8 minutes to collect, and if you thought the last price was theft, I put these in the G for 50,000 GP each, and then I waited. 2 days later, I had sold 21 seasoned sardines for a total of 207,000 GP. So it looks like that this is going to take a couple of weeks to sell them all, but when they finally sell, it will have made me 1.95 million GP in 5 minutes, which is pretty crazy. But for that amount of money, I'm not sure I would personally give up a GE slot for it. All of the Poison Chalices didn't sell either, but they did do a lot better. I sold 30 out of the 79, and remember that these items are free just by asking stankers for them. The total made so far was 1.48 million GP for 8 minutes work. Is it worth it? Well, for the time you invested, you could collect 592 chalices per hour, which would technically make you 29.6 million GP. But that doesn't include the time to sell them, and you would probably have to wait a month or two and give up a GE slot to actually do it. It would though pay for your entire membership for that period with those profits. Now, if a few thousand people watch this video, obviously you can't all do chalices or seasoned sardines as there's just too many people. But I'll put a link below to the GE tracker and you can see that almost every unusual quest item does exactly the same thing as these. They have these constant spikes in price and you can literally take advantage of it and do this with any of them. Is it worth it though? Let me know what you think, and if you have any unique money makers you want to share with me, I'd love to hear them and I'll test them out in the next video.